The whole world transmigrated overnight. Everyone was thrown into another world and turned into an animal. Some became ferocious tigers, roaring through the mountains. Some became giant pythons, swallowing heaven and earth. But you became the weakest arthropod of all, a spider. Luckily, the moment you arrived, everyone was given one brutal rule: kill to evolve, harvest evolution points from slaughter, and keep upgrading every ability you had. In the blink of an eye, midnight falls. If anyone looked into this canyon now, they would see enormous spider webs spread across every corner of the gorge, and you were resting in one of those shadows. Then suddenly, a violent tremor jolted you awake. You traced the vibration back to its source, and there, a palm-sized mantis was caught on the web you had spun, struggling with everything it had. And it was not alone. Many other insects were trapped there too. You sneak across the spider web, crawling toward your distant prey. Shortly after, you open your mouth and sink your fangs into the immobilized mantis. Crunch. Amidst the crisp sound, you secrete venom from the glands in your chelicerae, injecting the poison into the mantis's body. All of this is an instinct carved into your very being, requiring no conscious learning. You have slain a level 2 mantis. Evolution points +2. Amidst the sudden notification, you notice the mantis has stopped breathing. As long as I kill prey, I can harvest evolution points? With a soft murmur, you don't dwell on it. What matters more now is filling your stomach. Crack. One crisp sound after another, you remove the head. Most of the mantis's body ends up in your belly. Consuming mantis, EXP +2. Consuming mantis EXP +2. Amidst the continuous notifications, you look at your attribute panel. Progress bar appears. Your experience meter keeps rising. Then, at one moment, your experience reaches full. You level up. As the words fall, you feel a surge of heat rushing through your body. Boom! Accompanied by a terrifying roar, your entire body begins to tremble. In a state of continuous expansion, your body grows significantly larger. Even more exaggerated, your 8 black legs, sharp as blades, become even more lethal. And this is the evolution unique to players. However, it's because you were inherently too weak that your first level up brought such a massive change. For other animals, for example, tigers, lions, there might be hardly any visible change. And this is where the fairness of this game lies. Animals or plants that are inherently powerful inevitably find evolution difficult. The experience required increases exponentially, while animals or plants that are inherently weak find early evolution relatively simple. Just hunting 1 or 2 prey is enough to complete the initial evolution. However, this is evolution, not advancement. Evolution is merely a further increase in the species' own strength. However, every species has its own limit. Like a spider, no matter how powerful it becomes, can never surpass a tiger. Therefore, at this point, the role of evolution points becomes apparent. With enough evolution points, one can completely break through the species limit and unlock new evolutionary possibilities. But there's no rush now. You haven't reached the limit of a spider yet, so there's no need to choose a specialization too early. Just adapt for a while longer. Time slowly passes. In the blink of an eye, several days have gone by, and during these few days, you have been obsessed with hunting and feeding. Consuming rabbit, EXP +10. Consuming rabbit, EXP +10. You have slain a level 5 rabbit. Evolution points +5. Amidst the continuous notifications, a black spider now larger than a fist, with its 8 black legs continuously slashing across the carcass of a gray rabbit, begins its feast. As the body of this gray rabbit gradually diminishes, on your attribute panel, a large amount of text appears. Simultaneously, a surge of heat rushes through your body. This is evolution. You have now evolved to level 5. During this period, your attributes have been steadily climbing. Detected. You have reached the limit of your current species. Species advancement conditions met. You can now advance toward a small spider. Please select your advancement path using legs as blades, like scythes. The scythe spider, which slashes enemies. The venomous spider, specializing in lethal toxins. The hunting spider, specializing in silk, relying on weaving webs to await prey. The ghost-face spider, specializing in mental enhancement, to lure others in. Reminder, the advancement path will not affect future enhancements. Even as a scythe spider, you can still enhance your venom, However, the choice of advancement extends the exclusive abilities of that spider type, requiring no further development. Scythe Spider. You do not hesitate. Scythe Spider. Not only is the attack power greatly increased, but agility is also significantly boosted. After all, it's an enhancement of 8 legs. With 8 powerful legs, you will naturally run faster. In fights or bloody battles, you will inevitably encounter foes you cannot defeat. You don't believe that having a god-tier ability like god-tier silk spinning makes you invincible. Please ensure your surroundings are safe. You have 10 minutes for the advancement process. As the words fall, you feel a searing heat radiating through your body. Holy cow, so it's starting already. Stunned, you immediately began spinning silk, weaving a web. Now, in a corner of the canyon, using the silk, you quickly wove a cocoon all your own, pure white as snow, covering your entire body. And in the next moment, boom! Amidst a sudden roar, energy like a surging river, a torrent surged deep within your body, accompanied by an unimaginable agony, drowning your entire being. Consciousness gradually faded into chaos, leaving you with nothing but endless darkness. Time flowed slowly. In the blink of an eye, 10 minutes had passed, and then, if one looked toward a corner of the canyon, they would surely find a giant white cocoon the size of a ball, lying quietly there. But it wasn't pure white. It bore a tinge of blood, as if stained red with blood. But just then, a sudden roar echoed from within the cocoon. Then, crack! One crisp snap after another, the entire cocoon shattered, revealing from within a massive spider. The spider, as if carved from black jade, with purple markings its mandibles, sharp and keen, enough to make anyone stare. However, what was truly terrifying were the front legs of this spider like razor blades. Yes, blades, truly like blades, gleaming with a dark, eerie light, cold and terrifying, sending shivers down the spine. Just now, these 2 blade-like legs easily sliced through your silk, but I must say, you were quite pleasantly surprised. These are scythes, aren't they? In a soft whisper, you waved 2 legs, each measuring over 20 centimeters of dark, eerie spider legs. Unlike before when they had sharp bristles, now, these 2 chelicerae looked very smooth. Moreover, they radiated a sharp edge, just like your current racial name. Scythe Spider, lower-tier monster, existing in this world, a terrifying species of small, vicious spiders, specialized in offense, using chelicerae as weapons, like scythes, capable of slashing enemies. And its exclusive ability, Scythe Slash. The chelicerae slash out like scythes, creating a sonic boom that rips through the air. Staring quietly at the pale blue text before you, you were slightly stunned. Lower-tier monster. Huh? This must be the world's way of classifying mutated beasts. Above lower tier, might be mid-tier. Above mid-tier, might be high-tier. I just wonder, before, that one who said he started with 30 strength and 40 constitution, that giant python. What level of monster was he? Probably also lower tier. After all, now your panel stats don't seem much worse than his. Race, small spider, scythe spider, stats, strength, 10, agility, 20,
Constitution,
16, spirit, 12. Average human stats are 10. Skills, god level silk spinning, able to produce silk threads. Scythe Slash, a scythe-like slash, greatly increases the power of the strike. Watching quietly, you felt a surge of joy, as if remembering something. You shook your head. Can't be arrogant. While I am getting stronger, he is getting stronger too. A moment later, you shifted your gaze to the nearby regional chat. Message after message scrolled by. You tried to find information about that giant python, and shortly after, just as you expected, you found it. This guy must be someone who loves to show off. After discovering he was invincible at the start, he was smugly bragging about everything. Haha, I just killed another massive wild boar. Holy hell, took 7 days. I finally leveled up. My strength is now 32, and constitution is 42. Oh my, why is my defense so thick? This wolf can't even leave a scratch. Looking at these humble bragging messages, your eyelid couldn't stop twitching. The alpha wolf couldn't even break his defense. God knows how terrifying that defense is. However, luckily, you gathered quite a bit of useful information. 7 days to level up. Huh? Just as I thought. The stronger the creature, the more experience needed to level up also. When he levels up, strength, the growth for constitution is actually 2 points. Before, mine seemed to be around 1 point, sometimes only 0.5 points. One murmur after another. You kept organizing the info, but just then, you spotted another crucial piece of information in the regional chat. Holy crap, have you guys noticed? You can actually increase your stats through training. I've been doing sit-ups, and my strength actually went up by 1. Good grief. Man, this is something. Looking at what the player with the giant bear avatar found. You were stunned, then stunned again. This game is damn realistic. To think you can actually increase your 4 main stats through training. Thinking about it this way, you can't judge a creature's strength simply by its rank anymore. Moreover, there's one more thing. By constantly summarizing and combining it with the attribute panel's hints, you discovered a pattern. That is, for creatures that haven't even reached lower-tier monster status. Even when leveling up, strength, agility, speed only increases by 1 point, or by 0.5 or 0.6. But lower-tier creatures, like that giant python, and the pro player's great wolf, their strength, agility, constitution, all increase by more than 1 point. The python excels in defense and strength, so its strength and defense growth are particularly prominent, both at 2 points, just 1 point, or even less than 1, while that wolf excels in speed, so its agility growth is 2 points. The rest are 1 point or below 1, and this must be the advantage brought by race. As lower-tier monsters, their growth attributes are naturally better than ordinary beasts, of course. That includes you. If my guess is correct, his current agility growth should be 2 points. In other words, every time he levels up, agility will increase by 2 points. This way, he will become more and more agile. A smile crossed your mind. You felt a sense of anticipation, but for now, better get used to this current body, suddenly breaking the air, 6 legs moving in unison. You are terrifyingly fast. From a distance, feels like a black shadow flashing by. The figure is barely visible, and this is the speed of 20 agility. Absolutely terrifying. And just then, scythe slash, a roar in your heart as you raised your scythe leg. Crack, suddenly cutting through the air. A giant tree was snapped in half, revealing a smooth, mirror-like cut. TSK. Clicking your tongue. You were amazed. His strength is only 10 points, but combined with the slashing skill, he can actually cut down a tree in 1 blow. Such terrifying lethality. Truly living up to the title of lower-tier vicious monster. But this isn't enough. Curling your lips into a smirk, you slowly climbed a high mound, surveying the entire canyon. Now, he feels it's time to expand the hunting area. However, this time, he won't just weave webs. He'll rely on his scythe legs to engage in close-quarters combat with prey. Only this way can his combat skills improve in a short time. In his past life, he was, after all, just an ordinary man. At this thought, a glimmer of determination appeared deep in your eyes. In his view, a hunter truly at the top of the food chain should be flawless. Strength without weakness is true strength, and he has a small goal: to stand at the top of the food chain and become the ultimate apex predator. First, he didn't dare to imagine it, but after the god-level enhancement, he now possesses infinite possibilities. Bang! A sudden collision echoed from a corner of the canyon. Looking toward the sound, it was a soccer ball-sized spider, locked in a fierce battle with a giant snake several meters long. That spider was, of course, you. Now, his scythe legs were like twin blades, clashing continuously, sparking a series of flashes. And this giant snake was no pushover. It was a level 6 iron wire snake, its body black as ink, like iron stone, incredibly hard. Although slow, if it managed to coil around you or bite, you'd lose a whole layer of skin. But isn't this the perfect sparring partner? A smile in your heart as the giant snake lunged. You sidestepped, quickly creating some distance. Simultaneously, he raised his scythe leg and slashed down violently. Clang! A sound like hammering iron suddenly exploded. My strength is only 10. This guy's defense must be around 15. Feeling helpless, you decisively activated the skill. Scythe slash. Amidst the sudden roar, a warm current surged through your scythe leg, and in the next instant, boom! Even the powerful iron wire snake was sent flying several meters back. A deep, bottomless gash bled crimson blood. Amidst a shrill cry of pain, a flash of crimson emerged deep within the iron wire snake's eyes. Whoosh, suddenly breaking the air, it accelerated, gliding straight across the ground, shooting toward you. So fast. Your heart jolted, and your expression shifted. The iron wire snake's sudden burst of speed was too fast. One careless mistake leading to a severe injury would be as good as losing half your life. That's why your scythe legs kept twitching, and in the next instant, a terrifying scene unfolded. Look, the iron wire snake, charging at full speed, was suddenly torn to shreds in total silence. Squelch, rip, countless sprays of blood erupted, staining you crimson. At this moment, if one looked closely, they would discover that, in the air, many crystalline, blood-red threads had appeared, and these were the threads you had already laid out in the air. First, without your control, these threads were soft and limp, but with a single thought, as your scythe legs manipulated them, these invisible threads would tighten continuously, becoming like steel wires, incomparably sharp. Moreover, these threads were extremely thin, nearly impossible to see, and the iron wire snake, caught off guard, charging at high speed, would end up like this. Its overwhelming momentum, crashing into these crystalline threads, turned the threads into peerless blades, shredding it with ease. Dreadful and horrifying, this was a brand new application of your spider silk. During the battle, constantly laying these invisible threads, and in a flash, a terrifying killing intent could be unleashed. These threads of mine are truly lethal for fast-moving creatures. With a smirk in your heart, your scythe legs twitched again, reeling back the blood-red silk filling the air. This silk is precious, difficult to regenerate, so it's better to retrieve it. Furthermore, more importantly, you wouldn't want anyone finding your silk and studying it, so retrieving it is a must. And now, lifting your 6 legs, you walked toward the shredded iron wire snake, slowly opening your mouth. Crunch. You are consuming a level 6 iron wire snake. EXP plus 60. You are consuming a level 6 iron wire snake. EXP plus 60. You are consuming a level 6 iron wire snake. EXP plus 60. Notification after notification, leaving you satisfied. Not only that, your evolution points also surged directly, netting you 120 points. As expected, challenging a higher level makes experience and evolution points double. With a slight curl of your lip, you saw your experience bar jump significantly. If all goes well, you will soon reach level 6. After evolving into a small scythe spider, leveling up is no longer as easy as before. The requirement for experience has clearly increased a lot, and this is actually fine. More experience required means a greater increase in strength. This is enough to prove that your efforts during this time were not in vain. However, at this moment, you looked up, glancing at the regional and world chats. Many dimmed avatars made your pupils contract. These are the people who failed to adapt to this world and were eliminated. You don't know if they returned to their original world, but one thing is certain, that, in a certain sense, they are all dead. It's easy to imagine what these players with dimmed avatars went through. Perhaps they became food, ending up in someone's stomach, or regardless of the way, the end was undoubtedly miserable. That kind of despair is indescribable. With these thoughts, you looked at the players with dimmed avatars, and their final words, I don't want to die. I beg you, don't come any closer. Can anyone help me drive this wolf away? It's biting my body. It's biting me. No, what is this thing? A monster? No. And among these various pleas, the one that stunned you most was an avatar of a human body, with a foxtail. This person seemed to be a man in their previous life. Who would have thought that coming to this world, they would become a demi-human fox girl? But that's not the scary part. What's truly terrifying is that they are dead. Before dying, their final words were actually, "It hurts so much, stop it. Everyone, since we are all from Blue Star, remember to avenge me. Kill them. You must kill them. They are beasts, true animals." Amidst words filled with malice and hatred, they also mentioned a location and a tribe. Remaining messages. February 10th, no one knows. Remaining messages. 2 out of 10 what they went through before death. Remaining messages. 2 out of 10 but one thing is certain. Remaining messages. February 10th that the moment they finished speaking. Remaining messages. 2 out of 10. The world chat fell into a rare silence. Remaining messages. February 10th. A feeling of shared tragedy. Remaining messages. 2 out of 10 suddenly welled up. Remaining messages. 2 out of 10. Brother. Remaining messages. 2 out of 10. Rest in peace. Remaining messages. 2 out of 10. I'll avenge you myself. Amidst these sudden murmurs, deep within the great mountains, there lived a beast with 2 heads, a giant wolf with a ferocious look. Suddenly it howled toward the sky, piercing, mournful howl, stirring the clouds above, shaking a good portion of the mountains. And at this moment, if one looked closely, they would surely notice that this terrifying 2-headed demon wolf had a rare glint of moisture in its eyes. It recognized her, recognized this fox girl. She was his roommate in his previous life, because this fox girl had mentioned her college and her name, but before he could reunite with her, everything had come to an end. Moreover, her departure was so sudden, so tragic. Is this what an otherworldly world is? A bitter laugh. The demon wolf standing atop the peak suddenly burst into flames. Unimaginable rage, transformed into a chilling demonic fire. However, he cannot go there yet. To that place. He doesn't know where it is. Furthermore, his strength is not yet enough. But one thing is certain. Once his strength reaches the peak, he will slaughter that entire tribe. Every single being will be wiped out. Yet, compared to this terrifying demon wolf, the world chat channel, after a period of silence, became unusually noisy. Rest in peace. As a fellow blue star human, I will avenge you. Rest in peace, brother. Someone in the channel, a fellow blue star human. World channel, someone is from now on. I'll take them all down for you. Damn it, a bunch of natives dare to bully us. There's nothing to fear, but dying like this is truly unbearable. Message after message. Countless monsters from all over the world, or other living beings, were sharing their thoughts. Even after some hesitation, you used the world chat for the first time and said, rest in peace. If fate allows, I will avenge you. Within those indifferent words, a flash of ruthlessness flickered in your eyes. Players may be enemies, but this player, their final words before death, still shook many people. Fellow blue star humans, the other world is the true enemy. Moreover, you have a vague feeling that they have now become the so-called fourth calamity. While growing stronger, they seek to conquer this vast land, tempting to conquer this otherworldly realm, to trample all the natives and everything else under their feet. Players may fight each other, but they will never allow to ride over their heads. Kaido, this world Kaido, is truly cruel. Slowly looking up, gazing at the azure sky so different from Blue Star, you remain silent for a long while. I must become stronger. I have to become even stronger. Otherwise, my end might be just as bad. And now, slowly lifting your scythe leg, you decided to begin a new round of hunting. Shortly after, as the webs were continuously woven, visible to the naked eye, one giant web after another peered around the canyon. Not just close-quarters combat. He would also rely on webs to hunt. This way, with a two-pronged approach, he could grow even faster. After all, every prey is experience and evolution points. However, truth be told, when it comes to hunting, he should be among the fastest. Not only can he hunt personally, but he can also use the webs to wait for the prey to come to him. Just like now, a tremor from the void has allowed you to capture some information. Caught another prey. Judging by the commotion, it should be a large prey. A smile touched your heart. You were satisfied. These spider silks, after the god-level enhancement, are truly terrifying. Any prey, entangled in the web, will find it hard to escape, unless their size is too massive, enough to rip the earth and trees the web clings to, right out of the ground. Otherwise, trying to break free through brute force alone is almost impossible. And now, slowly raising your gaze, your eyes look toward the distance. Over there, piercing scream rang out. From the sound of it, sounded like a wild boar. Snort, snort, smacking your lips, you continued to make your way through the canyon. Before long, he had arrived at an open clearing. But what entered his sight was a wild boar with long tusks. On the ground, struggling incessantly, this wild boar was huge, looking to be 2 meters tall. on its ferocious face, was nothing but agitation. Perhaps in its eyes, a few mere spider webs could never possibly entangle it. However, what this wild boar didn't notice was that, as it struggled incessantly, more and more silk kept wrapping around its body. Consequently, its movements became slower and slower. Streaks of crimson began to seep out from its body. Bloodstains deepened, becoming more gruesome. Before long, a small pool of blood formed on the ground. This guy has such stubborn vitality. In a soft murmur, you managed not to alert the prey. As a hunter, you didn't lack patience. Waiting until the boar grew even weaker, then moving in, wouldn't be too late. Now, you only need to wait patiently. Time flowed slowly. In the blink of an eye, half a day had passed, and during this time, you visited other webs you had set up for a quick meal. Not bad, just some small insects. They could be seen as dessert. As for the real feast, that was saved for last. Just like now, under the cover of night, you crept back to the clearing. There, that long-tusked and terrifying wild boar was now on the brink of death. Massive blood loss and sheer exhaustion finally took their toll. With a smirk, you slowly crept toward the boar, but just then, it seemed to sense something. Roar, low growls, suddenly echoed through the night sky. Looking toward the sound, not far away, the giant boar lying on the ground stared with crimson eyes, glaring fixedly in your direction. Staring at me? With a cold smile, you unhesitatingly spat silk at it. With a sharp whistling sound, the fine thread from the spinneret was launched at high speed like a bullet. Bang! On the massive body of the tusked boar, a bullet-sized hole appeared, a bottomless pit of blood. This is bullet silk, launching spider silk, just like a bullet, firing it. As for why it possessed such power, it was largely thanks to the god level modification that repeatedly enhanced your spinneret. Therefore, your bullet silk had power far exceeding your current level. Just like now, under this terrifying bullet silk, the bones of the tusked boar hidden beneath the flesh were likely shattered. Thus, one can imagine how fearsome the bullet silk is. And this was only the beginning. Swish, one after another, you continuously fired your bullet silk. Accompanied by this were the shrill screams of the tusked boar, echoing across the night sky. This was a creature far beyond your level, at least level 8, or even a level 10 monster. Every attribute and every ability surpassed yours. Therefore, to be safe, you would only approach once it had breathed its last. And this was a necessity for survival in this world, because in the chat channel, you saw many players who, unfamiliar with monsters or skills, rashly approached them, and then, before they died, they left behind deep regrets. I already killed it. Why did it still explode? That thing was clearly heavily wounded. Did it unleash such combat power at the end? One sentence after another, lessons written in blood, were deeply engraved in your heart. Of course, it's possible some players were lucky enough to survive, but you didn't want to bet everything on luck. True survival leaves nothing to chance. Facing a creature so far above your level, no matter how cautious you are, it's never enough. Time slowly passed, and shortly after Roar, with a final, wretched wail, the giant tusked boar finally collapsed to the ground, its breath slowly fading away, finally dead. Huh? With a sigh, you felt a bit helpless. What a thick-skinned monster. If it were a boar from your past life, or any other creature, one bullet silk would have been fatal. But this guy, even in such a weakened state, actually withstood 6 shots. Smacking your lips, you cautiously approached this massive tusked boar, and in the next moment, crunch! The sound of snapping echoed repeatedly. You opened your maw wide, devouring the flesh of the tusked boar in huge gulps. Eating level 10 Tusked Boar King. EXP plus 200. Eating level 10 Tusked Boar King. EXP plus 200. Amidst the continuous notifications, your experience bar continued to rise, until the next moment, a surge of heat welled up from deep within your body. This is evolution. Evolution toward level 7. Strength, agility, constitution began to slowly increase. However, I wonder if it's because the tusked boar was so thick-skinned. Your constitution actually increased by a rare 1.5. Stat growth varies depending on the prey, doesn't it? Murmuring softly, you noticed this small detail. If that's the case, then in the future, if he wants to increase his constitution, he'll need to hunt these boars frequently. A smile crossed your mind, filled with anticipation. However, in the next moment, something startling happened, because, as he continued to feed, his experience bar was still skyrocketing. Moreover, even more terrifyingly, a line of clear text gradually appeared before his eyes. While consuming the level 10 Boar King, you have rarely obtained a skill. Savage Charge. Do you wish to learn it? Savage Charge consumes a small portion of stamina to launch a devastating charge. During the charge, strength is briefly doubled and speed is significantly increased. Requires 20 constitution. Watching silently, your pupils constricted. A skill. This should be a skill unique to the Tusked Boar King. I didn't expect that he could obtain this skill simply by eating. Can every player do this? Or is it only him? But right now, this isn't the time to worry about that. Sigh. Exhaling deeply, you shifted your gaze to his constitution. Before, his constitution was 18. Upon reaching level 7, his constitution reached 19.5. Although, right now, his experience bar is still growing from the feeding. It's clearly not enough to trigger another evolution. In other words, if he wants to learn Savage Charge, his constitution is still insufficient. Therefore, at this moment, the purpose of evolution points comes into play. I want to strengthen my body. In a sudden murmur, you decided to spend 1,000 evolution points to reinforce your own physique. And this is the power of evolution points. It can strengthen the body, can sharpen claws and fangs, can even enhance abilities. However, body reinforcement requires 1,000 evolution points. So, during this time, you have been slowly accumulating them. Until now, he has amassed 1,200 evolution points, and now he decides to spend 1,000 evolution points to strengthen his body. Rumble. A sudden roar, like a surging river, suddenly erupted from deep within your body. Feeling it closely, wave after wave of energy torrents were continuously remodeling your body. Vaguely, you felt his body becoming harder, and his entire frame becoming more powerful. But that's not all. Visibly, his body grew once again. Even the tiny bristles across his body became sharper, like needles, standing upright one by one. At this moment, if you look at your attribute panel, you will certainly find that his constitution, strength, and agility have all increased. Race, small spider, scythe spider, level, evolution points, 200, basic stats, strength, 16, agility, 27, constitution, 24 general, spirit, various attributes. 12 average human stats are 10. With each advancement, all attributes double in growth. And with every level up, strength, agility, and constitution gain different increases. The stronger the race, the more terrifying the stat growth becomes. Talent, slaughter evolution, adaptability, skills, divine silk spitting, capable of spitting silk threads, scythe slash, a slash like a scythe, significantly enhancing the power of the strike. Bristles, can instantly erect bristles across the body, like steel needles, piercing the enemy. Looking silently at the current attribute panel, you were slightly stunned. So this is the full body reinforcement of evolution points. Strength, agility, and constitution have all increased by 5 points. Moreover, more importantly, he gained a new bristle skill, allowing him to control the hair on his body, erecting it in an instant. With a thought, you controlled the black bristles on your body, one by one, then another, slowly standing up. From a distance, you looked much more ferocious, like a tiny hedgehog, utterly menacing. However, this bristle skill provides excellent defensive capability. For close quarters combat, it's quite effective, but that's not what's important. What truly matters is that ability of the Tusked Boar King. Just as the words fell, you felt a flood of information surging into your mind. Simultaneously, wave after wave of blood-red energy surged from the depths of the Tusked Boar King and rushed toward your body. This energy was strange. It didn't merge into your limbs and bones instead. It swirled around you and then slowly faded away. But In the next moment, savage charge. As the words were whispered, you felt your body shudder violently. That hidden blood-red energy surged instantly, wrapping around your entire body. Your blood seemed to boil. A searing heat rose from deep within your body. At this moment, if one looked at you, they would see this football-sized black spider, glowing with a red light, its body expanding slightly. Then boom, with a loud crash, your entire body turned into a streak of blood-red light, charging into the distance. Wherever you passed, dust clouds erupted. Even the giant boulders in your path were shattered to pieces. And this is the Tusked Boar King's unique savage charge, consuming a fraction of stamina for a double increase in strength and a massive boost in speed. Perfect god-tier escape skill. Yes, an escape skill. You wouldn't use this for attacking. That would be a one-way trip. Better to use it for saving your life. Besides, you were already fast. When activating this ability, the speed becomes absurd, making it perfect for escaping. As for the Tusked Boar King, he had immense strength and a huge body. Using this ability wouldn't be ideal for escaping. His better choice was to fight to the death, which makes sense. The Boar King's strength was already terrifying. Doubled, it would be at least 40 or 50 points. Such monstrous power, unleashed, combined with his massive size, could split mountains and shatter rocks. But you, a little spider, are different. Your strength is only 16. Doubled, it's only 32. Moreover, more importantly, you are small. Charging forward is nowhere near as terrifying as the Boar King. Therefore, for you, the best use of this ability isn't attacking, but getting the hell out of there. In other words, you've gained another trump card for survival. Hugh. Panting slightly, you felt exhausted. So this is what consuming a fraction of stamina feels like. Felt. Your physique wasn't great. Running 1,000 meters left you completely drained. It was terrifying. And now, this skill makes you taste that exact same feeling from your past life. As expected, this can only be a survival trump card. With a sigh, you knew this is definitely not a skill to use often. Using this, and then fighting monsters, would be practically suicidal. However, it must be said, this skill is truly terrifying. Slowly turning around, looking at the endless trench, your pupils contracted. This was the wreckage, left behind by your savage charge. With every stride of your 6 legs, the earth was torn apart. Everywhere you passed, everything was shattered. Even trees and boulders couldn't stop you in the slightest. TSK. Clicking your mandibles, you realized how formidable this ability was. And now, you need to master this ability while adapting to your greatly enhanced body. Time flowed slowly, and in the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. During this time, your growth became increasingly terrifying. By now, you have reached level 9. What does level 9 mean? Except for spirit, which remains stable. Your other average attributes are close to 25, and your most exaggerated stat, agility, has reached a staggering 31. Such high agility has pushed your current speed to a superhuman level. Of course, your size has also increased. Now, from a distance, you are roughly the size of a basketball. Your scythe legs, just like blades, glinting with a cold light, while the other 6 legs prop up your entire body, and those 8 compound eyes, flashing sporadically, make you look incredibly fierce. One glance is enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. Hugh. Taking a deep breath, you are satisfied with your current growth. In terms of growth speed, among all the players, the reason you know this is because you frequently browse the chat channels. Through various channels, you've gained a deep understanding of this world. For example,
monsters vary.
From strong to weak, the weaker monsters, like them, such powerful monsters, possess world-destroying power, a strength beyond ordinary imagination. And according to one player's description, he seemed to have seen a giant dragon. Yes, a dragon, the legendary fire dragon of myths, with golden flames flowing across its body, its vertical pupils filled with ferocity. A single dragon roar shattered the clouds. This terrifying heat, even from thousands of meters away, could still be felt. In a daze, the very air seemed to ignite, and that is the supreme being at the peak of all monsters, a dragon, a true apex predator of the food chain. With that, you can imagine how terrifying this world truly is. Even beings like dragons exist here. Moreover, that is not all. You also discovered from the chat channel that some players haven't even been born yet. Yes, not yet born. According to the description, this guy seems to be inside an egg. Though he has consciousness, he cannot move a muscle. However, hearing this player's description, the other players, including you, couldn't help but shudder, because they are no longer newbies to this world. Being able to survive for a month, they've gained some understanding of this world, and yet, until now, still not born, but inside the shell, still able to cultivate continuously and grow stronger. This could only be a legendary high-rank monster. In other words, some are born at a peak beyond imagination. It's just that you can't help but be envious. Moreover, there was one more thing. Fortunately, a being like that had not been born yet, giving ordinary players a chance. Otherwise, anyone would curse. With such a massive gap at birth, what would be the point of playing? You are just a spider. But some players are born as high-tier monsters or even legendary dragons. No one could stay mentally balanced, right? It's just pity. Inequality has always existed, just like in the previous life. Some are born as ordinary people, reaching endpoints others can never touch. So, keep a good mindset. Moreover, there is one more thing worth mentioning. Right now, most players have only grown to level 3 or 4. Even those who grow faster are only at level 5 or 6. Like you, in just 1 month, already a level 9 monster. That is absolutely terrifying. At least, you've never seen a monster grow faster than that. However, this point is understandable when you think about it. Other players need to fight constantly, then heal their wounds, and then rest. But you're different. You have god-level spider silk, a natural advantage in hunting. Moreover, besides deliberately honing your melee skills, you mostly weave webs, waiting for prey to fall in. Others killed maybe a dozen monsters a month, but you, this past month, killed at least 40 or 50 monsters. This harvesting efficiency is on a completely different level. Therefore, except for those players who started at a high level, the growth rate of other players can hardly compare to yours. For example, that one with starting Constitution 40 and Strength 30, the giant python. Although I don't know what level they are now, but right now, it's still hard to compete with that player. In terms of growth speed alone, I should be among the top-ranked players. But in terms of raw power, I reckon I'm not top tier. Of course, with the god-level spider silk, even against that giant python, I could still put up a fight. Constant analysis and summary are essential for growth. However, I have to say, the chat channel is a great thing. It greatly expanded your horizons. Moreover, it gave you a way to compare yourself. Without the chat channel, you'd probably still think you were just a weak little spider. But now, it seems, you're not weak. At least, your growth speed is definitely top tier. Give me a bit more time, and I will surely surpass everyone. Filled with ambition and passion, you feel a surge of excitement. However, before that, you intend to turn the entire canyon into one giant web. From now on, this canyon, your own private hunting paradise. It's just pity that there aren't those 7 famous spider demons. Sigh. A soft sigh. You also wish to have 7 spider sisters for company. Those 7 sisters were loyal and affectionate. Though they wanted to eat Tang Sanzang's meat, they weren't bad to their senior brother. And if you had 7 spider sisters like that to help you hunt, his growth rate might increase once again. As for other sisters, sorry, you don't trust them. From your current perspective, the only ones who can be considered kin are other spiders, and spiders aren't necessarily reliable. After all, spiders are known to cannibalize each other. So, in this world, it's better to be alone. You can only rely on yourself. As for the rest, it's better to just keep them as thoughts. But just then, as if remembering something, you paused. If he remembers correctly, the regional chat channel seems to be obsessed with offline meetups lately. They've even come up with some teaming up nonsense. Can you imagine? A rat and a snake teaming up, or a wolf and a rabbit pairing up. In the silence, your eye twitched violently. No matter how you think about it, it just feels unreliable. When the critical moment comes, if they don't betray each other, they'll definitely scatter to save their own skins. Sigh. With a sigh, you didn't want to dwell on it. Instead of that, better to take care of yourself. The most urgent thing now is to hit level 10. Whispering softly, your gaze toward the experience bar grew intense. Level 10 is a threshold. I've heard. Level 10 is where you become a king among ordinary monsters. For humans and other races, level 10 is the threshold for professionals. At this rank, whether monsters or other races, they awaken their own unique talent abilities. Yes, talent abilities, terrifying powers that far exceed normal abilities. Like the savage charge of that Tusked Boar King. It's definitely no ordinary skill. Strength doubles instantly, speed skyrockets. That's a fucking god-tier skill. And that must be the talent ability of the level 10 Tusked Boar King. That's why your gaze toward the experience bar is so fervent. Now, he is only one step away from level 10. Night falls, the hazy moonlight spills, casting a pale glow over the land and the canyon. And just then, in a mountain corner not far from you, a wolf larger than an average wild wolf huddled alone in the corner, whimpering like a shivering child. His body wouldn't stop trembling. In his past life, he was just an ordinary shut-in, but who would have thought he'd end up in another world as a blue wolf? Fortunately, most people worldwide were reincarnated, which gave him some peace of mind. However, just as he realized his blue wolf form was powerful and began to think he was the chosen protagonist, reality dealt him a crushing blow. A terrifying monster targeted him, tearing through his defenses in an instant and leaving him gravely wounded. Even now, one of his eyes is bleeding. The unimaginable pain keeps his body shaking uncontrollably. "I'll fucking kill you." With a voice full of malice, the blue wolf dragged his failing body toward the foot of the mountain. Now, the depths of the mountain are too dangerous, and he is severely injured, so leaving is the only choice. But shortly after, looking at a grim canyon, like the open maw of a giant beast, a flicker of trepidation flashed in the blue wolf's eyes. For some reason, a heart-pounding sensation suddenly surfaced in his mind. But then, boom, accompanied by a terrifying roar, countless colorful elements, like a storm, began to gather, swirl, and soar in the center of the canyon. What is this? Eyes wide, a spark of greed flashed in the blue wolf's eyes. Evolution. Yes, it's an evolution, and, judging by the scale, it's no ordinary monster evolution. Gulp. Instinctively swallowing, the blue wolf felt a surge of desire. A monster evolving is most vulnerable to interruption, and, right now, is when it's at its weakest. If he could hunt this monster, he might be able to advance further, and then he could seek revenge on his great enemy. With that thought, the blue wolf suppressed his presence as much as possible, slowly approaching the depths of the canyon. Shortly after, the blue wolf saw that in the deepest part of the canyon, there was a massive white cocoon. The giant cocoon was about the size of a basketball, surrounded by a hazy halo. Countless elements, as if sensing something, poured into the cocoon. But what shocked the blue wolf was that around the cocoon, countless pure white webs, densely, had turned the entire canyon into a world of spiderwebs. Keep in mind, this canyon was once evergreen, once a lush green, but now, for hundreds of meters around, everything is covered in white spider webs. Many trees in this webbed world have withered. Countless white silk threads shimmer in the air, and upon these webs, avian monsters are shrieking. There are rabbits, screaming in agony. Even giant pythons are struggling relentlessly. Hiss, gasped. The blue wolf couldn't help but be horrified. This is simply too terrifying. Here, what kind of demon spider is hiding here, to be able to weave such a horrific web? With this thought, he rarely spoke in the regional channel, exclaiming in shock, "Lone blue wolf, my god, do you know what I've seen nearby? I found a white, dead world of spiders." Squirrel girl, what is that? Giant python king, stop chatting. We only have 3 chances to speak a day. Lone blue wolf, I don't know either, but it's quite terrifying. And more importantly, the demon spiders here. Remaining messages, 1 out of 10. You're in luck, an evolved monster, and you actually found one. Unbeatable. This luck. You truly are the child of destiny. Hurry up. One sentence after another, it was the 3 most talkative people in the regional channel. They were chatting away, and this blue wolf was the very same one you saw in the channel before. Remaining messages. January 10th. It's just, I never imagined that he would actually find your Spider Valley. However, right then, as if discovering something, the blue wolf's pupils suddenly contracted. He saw it. He saw that, on one side of the canyon, there were counting marks, one after another, branded into the rock wall. This is, suddenly stunned, the blue wolf fell silent. These look like characters from a past life. Moreover, it seems they are used to count the days. In that case, this guy is a player. In that rare silence, the blue wolf king's eyes couldn't stop flickering. However, this piece of information is for casual chatting, but in reality, encountering a player is completely different from chatting. Furthermore, the most important thing is, this guy is actually still evolving. Cooperate or confront. Suddenly, the blue wolf remembered the subtitle warning from before, and that even more important sentence. There is no such thing as true friendship. Scythe. Taking a deep breath, the blue wolf hesitated no longer. Compared to anything else, himself was more important. You have to understand, he is already level 8. By devouring this demon spider, he might be able to skip level 9 and sprint straight to level 10. Such an opportunity. He couldn't help but be tempted. Moreover, there's one more thing. He is currently blind in one eye, but he heard that every time one reaches level 10, there is a chance for a baptism. That is a reshaping and a rebirth. He could very likely use this chance to heal his eye. Therefore, don't blame me. If you must blame someone, blame your own bad luck. A flash of ruthlessness crossed his eyes. The blue wolf slowly opened his mouth. Boom! Along with a thunderous roar, a visible ball of cyan light actually emerged from his mouth. Windblade, the blue wolf's most terrifying ability. Able to gather wind attribute elements to spit out a wind blade nearly half a meter long. Can tear through everything in its path. This ability, when compared to high-tier monsters, might be unremarkable, but among low-tier monsters, it is exceptionally terrifying, especially the blue wolves, also known as wind wolves. They often travel in packs. Dozens of wind wolves, all spitting wind blades together, are enough to wipe out half a forest. Thus, the wind wolf pack is the monster herd that most beings are most reluctant to face, dreadful and terrifying, enough to leave one breathless. And now, opening his mouth, gathering the wind blade, the blue wolf's gaze became exceptionally cold. Fellow players, fellow Blue Star inhabitants, what does that matter? In the face of profit, one would stab their own brother, let alone a complete stranger. Roar. Amidst the low wolf howl, a half-meter-long wind blade was seen, violently tearing through the air, flying toward the giant cocoon deep in the canyon. However, the next moment, the blue wolf's gaze froze. What? In an instinctive cry of surprise, the blue wolf was stunned, simply because the wind blade that could even chop down trees actually stopped before the dense spider webs. Furthermore, it was stopped by the very first web. In a moment of absolute silence, the blue wolf was bewildered. You've got to be kidding me. A mere spider web. How could it possibly block his wind blade? Hard to accept. The blue wolf opened its maw once more, toward the distant spider web, spat out a wind blade. Accompanied by a whistling sound, the wind blade flew out once again. But in the next moment, this wind blade, once again before the web, came to a sudden halt, just like before, leaving the blue wolf completely stunned. For some reason, a very ominous feeling rose within his heart, and at that moment, as if sensing something, through the whistling air, several translucent spider silks, nearly invisible to the eye, sliced through the night sky, lunging toward the blue wolf. Before the blue wolf could even react, a sharp rip echoed, and the blue wolf's entire body was pierced. However, that wasn't the scary part. What was truly terrifying was that countless translucent silks, slicing through the air, formed what seemed like a giant net, covering the blue wolf and directly pinning him firmly to the ground. A woo, a miserable wolf howl, echoed continuously through the night, but it didn't cause the slightest ripple. There was only the usual deathly silence and despair. Yes, despair. This blue wolf player was utterly despairing. At this moment, he finally understood that he had encountered a being he shouldn't have provoked. This was definitely no ordinary player, but rather an extremely terrifying, Peak existence standing at the summit of all players. Gulp, subconsciously swallowing hard. The blue wolf continued to growl lowly. He even started calling for help in the regional channel. Lone blue wolf, brothers, help me.
I've offended a formidable powerhouse.
Now I'm bound by its spider silk. Please, sister squirrel, giant python king, don't tell me the advanced monster you mentioned is actually a player. Blue wolf wanted to answer, but looking at his 0 remaining regional chat attempts, he felt a surge of despair. Now, he could only hope that this powerhouse would wake up without noticing anything, and then, out of kinship as fellow blue star humans, let him off the hook. And at this time, inside the giant cocoon, so this is level 10. In a sudden murmur, you felt around your body, an indescribable power surging. That was magic. Magic flowing through his body. And this is also a hallmark of a level 10 monster. They are powerful enough to sense the magic in their bodies, and even utilize it. And magic, what is it for? Whether it's improving physical attributes, or strengthening skills, both are great. Just like now, amidst the surging magic, your scythe legs actually glowed with a ghostly light, a true ghostly radiance, and your very own dark magic. He is a dark attribute monster. Its magic possesses extremely powerful corrosiveness, capable of corroding most things. But that's not all. Upon reaching level 10, you finally understood the power of the system. The one that gave him the newbie gift pack, the God-level enhancement system. The value of this system's existence is to help you break your shackles. For example, when a skill reaches max level, and it's hard to progress further, by relying on this system, you can break those shackles and go even further, like the savage charge he currently possesses. Once it's pushed to the limit, you can completely upgrade it once more. At that time, the power of savage charge will become even more terrifying, and even the cost will be lower. A very ordinary skill in his hands could potentially evolve continuously, eventually becoming a god-tier skill in the eyes of other players and creatures. And that is the terror of your system. It's worth mentioning here that evolution points also have a similar ability, but the improvement from evolution points has a limit. For example, with an ordinary skill, using evolution points can only raise it to the limit of an ordinary skill. It's impossible to make an ordinary skill evolve into a god-tier skill. Moreover, every single upgrade increases the demand for evolution points by double. With these evolution points, isn't strengthening the body much better? You must know, the true purpose of evolution points is to continuously strengthen the body, thereby developing more abilities. Using evolution points to strengthen the shell means a repeatedly strengthened shell could likely lead to a new skill, such as Thorn's armor. Therefore, looking at it this way, one can imagine how your system is absolutely terrifying. This is a true golden finger cheat. However, at this moment, looking at one skill after another, your eyes narrowed slightly. Savage charge. Current proficiency is at 8 points. To go further, this proficiency must reach 100. In other words, once this skill's proficiency is maxed, you won't need evolution points for the upgrade at all. By relying directly on the system, you can upgrade the skill. Furthermore, Savage Charge might, through repeated upgrades, undergo a true metamorphosis. That is the most terrifying part. This way, I can use all my evolution points to strengthen my body. In a soft murmur, regarding the future, you now have a plan, and this should be the guarantee for him to reach the peak in the future. After all, there are countless players, more talented, and naturally stronger than him, and you never thought you were superior. But with this system, everything changes. In the future, he'll be loaded with god-tier skills. With that, how could he not be powerful? A slight smirk. You are satisfied with this system, for this system can greatly accelerate his growth and combat power. But just then, as if remembering something, you shift your gaze to his attribute panel. Upon reaching level 10, he awakened a talent ability. Race, small spider, scythe spider, level 10. Evolution points, 1,600. Attributes, strength, 22. Agility, 32.
Constitution,
29. Spirit, 12. Average human is 10. Talents, slaughter evolution. Adaptability, talent skill, puppet thread LV1. Can spread silk across another's body. controlling them in total silence. Skill, Mana Control LV1, can manipulate internal mana to briefly strengthen the body. God level Silk God tier, ability to spin silk threads. Scythe/LVL, a slash like a scythe, greatly enhancing the power of the strike. Bristles LVL, can instantly erect bristles across the body, like steel needles, to pierce enemies. Watching silently, your gaze focuses on the talent. Puppet Thread, from the name alone, the horror of this ability is clear, controlling others in total silence. Moreover, what's even more terrifying is that this ability can continue to grow. Currently, while controlling, the threads might still be detectable, but as it levels up, this ability will become more terrifying and more eerie. According to your guess, if this ability evolves to God tier, you could likely, in total silence, completely control a creature. TSK, clicking your tongue, you can't help but be amazed. It's worth mentioning here that talent abilities are innate abilities and gifts. The proficiency required for such abilities is half that of ordinary ones. How should I put it? For example, a level 1 scythe leg needs 100 proficiency to reach level 2. Then the talent ability, Puppet Thread, needs only 50 proficiency to reach level 2. In the early stages, this is terrifying, and in the late game, it's lethal, because ability progression follows a 10x growth rate. A level 1 ability to reach level 2 requires 100 proficiency. A level 2 ability to reach level 3 requires 1000 proficiency. A level 3 ability to reach level 4 requires 10,000 proficiency. In the end, from level 8 to 9, it requires a billion proficiency. To some extent, this is impossible. Fortunately, there are treasures in this world that can drastically increase proficiency, and beyond level 9 lies the so-called God tier skill. Thus, it's easy to imagine how terrifying it is to possess a God tier ability right from the start. God tier abilities may not always have terrifying power, but they absolutely represent infinite possibilities and unimaginable potential. Just like your silk, if it can be continuously developed, then all sorts of shocking abilities will emerge. Currently, you've thought of many ways to develop it, but unfortunately, your current strength is insufficient. You can't spin enough silk, leaving this ability underutilized. However, it's not a big deal. As long as you keep getting stronger, this God tier silk ability will become increasingly terrifying. Puppet Thread. Whispering softly, you look at several silk threads in the air. They are crystal clear, yet compared to ordinary silk, they are thinner and far harder to detect. Moreover, they possess a strange power to perfectly attach to a creature's body and then influence its movements. This is the puppet thread. With a smile in your heart, you look forward to this ability, showing its true colors. And now, it's time to go out. Lifting a scythe leg, you tear through the giant cocoon surrounding you. But just then, your heart sinks. You felt it, a subtle change in the web. Someone has touched the web, and not just a simple touch, but a genuine attack. Is it this guy? Amidst a sudden murmur, your gaze shifted toward the canyon entrance, a giant azure wolf lying face down on the ground. At this moment, this azure wolf was in a wretched state, bound to the earth by countless spider silks. Across its body, bloodstains were everywhere, faintly visible, streaks of blood slowly oozing out. It seems this fellow didn't struggle lightly. However, what startled you was the human-like expression of grievance on its face and bitterness. But before you could speak, the creature seemed to sense something, suddenly lifting its head. Its eyes suddenly flared with a strange light. Amidst an excited howl, the azure wolf raised its only movable claw, frantically scratching at the ground. Looking closer, those were characters resembling a written language. Player. A sudden murmur, and you identified this creature's identity. Indeed, a player, writing from Blue Star, moreover, from the very same country. But, unfortunately, you had already noticed on the web 2 slash marks, deep, heavy slash marks. If it weren't for your silk being reinforced, it would have been hard to sustain. This web would have shattered long ago. Furthermore, at that time, its evolution might have fallen short. Therefore, being fellow players. So what? You don't consider yourself a saint? A smirk curled your lips, revealing a hint of cruelty. You decided to test your new ability. However, before that, with a slight lift of your scythe legs, the countless threads binding the azure wolf, all All loosened at once. A woo, continuous low growls, filled with excitement and joy. At that moment, the azure wolf immediately wrote on the ground. Wrote, "Thank you, I was really just passing through. I didn't mean to disturb you. Great One, please let's team up." Saying this, the azure wolf continued, "Great One, are you human?" A moment of silence. The only response to the azure wolf was the cold presence of a basketball-sized spider in the distance. Despite the scorching summer heat, for some reason, the azure wolf felt a chill in its heart. Down its spine, a cold shiver raced upward. "Great One, I really didn't mean to disturb you. Right now, I'll leave. I'm leaving right now." Lifting a paw in a human-like gesture, waving it back and forth, the azure wolf decided to make a run for it. Even though this spider is only the size of a basketball, but that aura was the most horrific the wolf had ever encountered. Not even the wind wolf king he'd seen was this scary, especially those scythe-like legs, like the coldest of blades, with faint, ghostly light flowing through them, soul-piercing, and those eyes, one by one, 8 in total, staring, making one's heart tremble. This is absolutely the most terrifying player I've ever seen. Amidst another exclamation, the azure wolf shrank its neck, slowly shuffling toward the canyon exit. But in the next instant, the azure wolf's expression froze. What happened? In a sudden cry of alarm, the wolf realized its body was completely immobilized, as if bound by something, and then, if it slowly looked up, it would discover, one by one, invisible threads had already spread across its body, and the source of these threads lay right between your side legs. Puppet threads. First, scatter dozens of threads in the air, then silently merge them into the opponent's body to manipulate their physical movements. This is a terrifying ability, however, cannot control another's will, can only simply control bodily actions. Like right now, since you are still inexperienced, the control is clearly a bit stiff. Even with 8 legs moving in unison, the azure wolf's body still felt extremely unnatural. A woo. In an anxious and enraged howl, the azure wolf sensed the strangeness of its own body. But before it could howl any further, another thread, with a sharp snap, pierced through its mouth, simply sewing its mouth shut. "I hate noise." With a cold sneer, you began to experiment with this brand new ability. Not bad, although the control is quite stiff. But watching the azure wolf nearby, moving exactly as you willed, you were satisfied. It had truly become a puppet in your hands, completely powerless to resist. A slight curl of your lips. You noticed deep within the azure wolf's eyes a flicker of barely perceptible malice. Clicking your tongue, you were unwilling to keep playing with this creature. You dislike interacting with players. Players are generally quite clever. One slip-up, and things could go wrong. Moreover, they have things like chat channels. If by chance before it dies, says something, could become a nuisance. Therefore, a flash of ruthlessness crossed your eyes. You manipulated the azure wolf to suddenly accelerate. Thump. A high-speed charge, charging straight at you, while your side legs swing high in the air, a desperate roar. But before this green wolf could say another word, he already saw half of his own body, standing silently in place. That was his torso, a wolf's body without a head, blood gushing like a fountain, staining the earth red, and his consciousness, gradually blurred, until it vanished completely, sliced in half. No pain at all. You have slain a player, green wolf. Evolution points plus 400. Sudden text appeared before your eyes, leaving you slightly stunned. Killing a player could actually grant this many evolution points. This is it encouraging the slaughter of other players? In a state of bewilderment, you shifted your consciousness to the chat channel, searching for similar information. However, unsurprisingly, information on this was scarce, pathetically scarce, and this was only natural. Who would admit to killing other players and say it out loud? In a previous life, that would be equivalent to murder. Therefore, shaking your head, suppressing the doubt in your heart, you prepared to exit the chat channel. But in the next instant, your pupils suddenly contracted, because, at that moment, you actually saw in the regional chat channel a few lines of text. Lone Wolf Green, this is a spider powerhouse. So terrifying. Giant Python King. I feel he's even more terrifying than you. This spider powerhouse. What does he want to do? Hello? Hello? He's not controlling my body, is he? Giant Python King. he's going to kill. The words stopped abruptly, leaving the entire regional channel in silence. During the long silence, the 1,000 players in the regional channel, messages remaining 1 out of 10, all saw that in the regional. Green Wolf, the most active member of the chat channel. Messages remaining, January 10th. He claimed to have met a powerhouse. The powerhouse even forgave his insolence. But in this instant, he was uncharacteristically silent. Many players couldn't help but feel a tightening in their chests. Player just died like that. Moreover, it seemed. Messages remaining, February 10th. We are all from Blue Star. Messages remaining, 2 out of 10. Shouldn't we stand together against a common enemy? Shouldn't we be united? Amidst this sudden questioning, Giant Python King, this player with an initial constitution of 40 and strength of 30, was also enraged. He was a generous man, and this Green Wolf, usually in the group, had done plenty of brown-nosing. Therefore, he had always treated this little guy as a lackey. Even, they had planned to meet up in person after a while. But now, his lackey had died just like this. Rage, unimaginable fury, made Giant Python King's expression terrifyingly grim. Amidst a sudden hiss, far away, deep within a mountain, a head 20 meters long, a rock python as if carved from granite, roared toward the sky. Its terrifying roar shook the night sky, accompanied by what felt like a small earthquake in the vicinity. The earth began to tremble, but as for this, you didn't pay any attention at all. In fact, you didn't even respond to Giant Python King's words. You knew those words were Giant Python King questioning you, but was there any need to answer? In this world of natural selection, only the fittest survive. This Green Wolf actually dared to attack you. Then he must bear the consequences of his actions. In other words, he brought death upon himself. However, what you didn't expect was that this guy's regional channel and had some connection with Giant Python King and others. These people, surely they aren't planning to team up or even form some kind of organization, like a guild or something. In a sudden murmur, you became pensive. It was indeed possible. The chat channel, especially the regional chat channel, provided the possibility for all of this. As long as there is a player strong enough, willing to protect others, then the prototype of a faction could likely emerge. And now, Giant Python King showed such a tendency. However, your eyes narrowed slightly. You suppressed the thought in your mind. None of this concerned you. The strong are always solitary. Only the weak huddle together. Moreover, more importantly, it's hard to trust these players. Perhaps, given one chance, they would stab you in the back. This isn't the previous life, a world bound by laws. In today's world, the shackles of law are gone. The starry sky of morality overhead is no longer enough to restrain people's actions. Therefore, every betrayal is a possibility, and you have no desire to get involved in such disputes. With a faint smile in your heart, you decided to fulfill a so-called humanitarian duty and take this Green Wolf's corpse, buried, the player's corpse. He didn't want to feast on a bit of experience. It's no big deal, and this is your greatest mercy. Time slowly flowed by, and in the blink of an eye it was midnight. At this moment, you had adapted to your current body. Powerful, truly powerful, especially the dark magic, which far exceeded your imagination. Just like now, amidst the surging magic, your scythe legs glowed with an ink-black light. Screech. Amidst a sudden sharp sound, a giant rock was like a piece of paper, fragile, easily torn apart, and the cut looked as if it had been corroded, making your pupils shrink. This is dark magic. Among all the elements, the most lethal of all. Perhaps it lacks the scorching explosion of fire magic. Perhaps it lacks the extreme cold and grimness of ice magic. But in terms of horror, it is more than equal, simply because dark magic can ignore a portion of defenses, directly eroding the enemy's body. This is equivalent to true damage. Thus, one can imagine how terrifying your dark magic is. Only, unfortunately, your current application of dark magic is limited to the simplest limb wrapping. As for the rest, sorry, he hasn't developed them yet. Sigh, a soft sigh. You know this cannot be rushed. You must eat one bite at a time. You can't become fat in one meal. And now, it's time to head out and explore. After all, his strength is already decent. Strength, agility,
Constitution.
all are very high. Moreover, he has various abilities, and even god-level spider silk. Now, your combat power, among low-tier monsters, should be one of the best. Thus, the risk of going out has been greatly reduced. Moreover, more importantly, this canyon no longer satisfies your hunting needs. With a slight curl of the lips, you feel a sense of anticipation for the world outside. You wonder what this world looks like. Amidst a sudden murmur, a basketball-sized black spider climbed to a peak of the canyon. Overlooking the mountains, outside Silk Valley, is an endless forest. However, this forest is different from your previous life. Tree after tree, with names you cannot call, exceptionally lush and towering. Among them, there are not a few giant trees dozens of meters high. What does dozens of meters mean? They are like one skyscraper after another. Yet these towering trees are seen everywhere here. Looking out, it is magnificent, even terrifying. However, unfortunately, such a magnificent forest is hidden within a thick white fog, making it hard to see the full picture. Moreover, what's even more terrifying is that from this vast forest, low roars echo from time to time. A woo roar. These roars are so terrifying that even hearing them from afar makes your heart tremble. Only, fortunately, these roars are too distant, so distant that you thought you were hallucinating. Taking a deep breath, you suppress the horror in your heart. You understand that this is the terror hidden deep in the mountains, beings that he cannot afford to provoke right now. I'm really looking forward to clashing with those guys in the future. With a light chuckle, you are not afraid at all. Who wasn't weak once? As for him now, according to the terms of this world, he is still a juvenile, not even having reached the mature stage. Moreover, he still has evolution points. As long as he is cautious, extremely cautious, becoming a powerhouse in the future is inevitable, and now, what he needs to do is grow in the shadows, advancing stealthily. With a smile in his heart, you stealthily climb up a massive tree. These trees are indeed huge, even though your current size is that of a basketball. Climbing these trees makes you feel as tiny as an insect from your past life, and this provides the necessary guarantee for your concealment. Just like now, within the branches of the tree, moving continuously, occasionally, spitting out a strand of spider silk, shooting it toward a distant tree, then pulling the silk, and after ensuring it's fixed, your entire body swings down along the silk, like a pendulum. This has been, for some time, the most suitable way of movement for him. Not only is the speed incredibly fast, but also, coming without a shadow, leaving without a trace, without leaving the slightest mark. Only, at this moment, if one were to notice your figure, they would certainly discover that he is hanging upside down from a branch. Moreover, when moving, it's as if he's on flat ground. If this were seen by others, their eyes would probably pop out, because a humanoid creature under the ceiling, walking upside down, is truly terrifying. But for you, it's perfectly normal, because you are a spider. 6 of your legs have incredibly strong adhesion, allowing you to walk anywhere. As a spider, even a monster spider, you must understand the various innate advantages of a spider. With 8 legs, although 2 of them have become lethal weapons, side legs, the remaining 6, are enough to grant you high-speed movement. Besides that, there's the spider's natural adhesion, and the so-called spider sense. These are things you need to know. It's just pity that regarding the spider sense, you haven't quite figured it out yet. You know your reflexes are far superior to an ordinary person's, but you can't describe it or even fully perceive it. It's as if a thin veil is blocking you. Sometimes, you wonder if you need to use evolution points to upgrade your brain region. However, upgrading the brain region seems to require quite a lot of evolution points, a full 2,000 points, and you, after accumulating over time, only have about 1,700 now. Therefore, the brain upgrade must be put on hold. Right now, the most important thing is hunting. With a smirk, as you dart through the trees, you spot your first prey in the forest. It's a rabbit, but unlike an ordinary rabbit, this one is clearly twice the size of others. Moreover, its body is covered in flame-like patterns. It looks like no ordinary rabbit, but that doesn't affect your hunt. Silently creeping above the rabbit, hidden beneath the foliage, you quietly weave your webs, and in the next instant, swish, with a sound of piercing air, a purple web suddenly expands, shooting toward the nearby rabbit. Amidst a sudden low growl, it doesn't sound like a rabbit's cry. The flame-patterned rabbit spins around instantly and opens its mouth. Boom. Amidst a sudden roar, a ball of fire erupts from the rabbit's mouth. Holy crap! Shocked to the core, you feel a wave of intense heat, as if the very air is ignited. Luckily, the white web blocked the fireball. Boom. As the web and the fire collide, sparks fly everywhere. However, fortunately, your silk is formidable. It wasn't destroyed immediately. You see, ordinary spider silk is most vulnerable to fire, but now, it seems, its fire resistance is quite decent. So, in the next moment, amidst a series of frantic and anxious screeches, the fire rabbit is trapped beneath your web, can actually breathe fire, as expected. In this world, even a rabbit cannot be underestimated. Whispering softly, you shoot out another web, pinning the rabbit firmly to the ground. Your web is terrifying. When it comes to restraining enemies, it has a unique advantage. Just like now, beneath your web, the fire rabbit struggles incessantly, but cannot break free. Aside from thin streaks of blood splattering, more fire continues to surge from under the web. Looking at it is quite a strange sight. At that moment, slowly raising your scythe leg, you leap down from the heights, with a sound of cutting air. A half-meter pillar of blood erupts, leaving only a rabbit, slowly collapsing into a pool of blood. You are consuming a level 6 fire rabbit. EXP plus 60. You are consuming a level 6 fire rabbit. EXP plus 60. You are consuming a level 6 fire rabbit. EXP plus 60. Amidst the continuous notifications, half a rabbit has gone into your belly. The taste is not bad. Praising softly, you are satisfied with the texture of the meat. Not bad, compared to rabbit meat from my past life. This is tender. It's just pity. I can't breathe fire, so I can't roast this rabbit before eating. But, right now, even survival is a struggle, so I won't think about such luxuries. Better to just focus on hunting and evolving, and while you are simply eating, you notice the arrival of an unwelcome guest. It seems the thick scent of blood has attracted it here. Whispering softly, you slowly look up. In sight is a giant snake, 4 to 5 meters long. This vivid green, pair of snake eyes, cold and terrifying, hiss. Amidst the continuous hissing, the temperature in the air seems to drop, and in the next instant, hiss, with a sudden hiss, the giant snake, as if teleporting, lunges to bite you. Humph. With a cold snort, you capture the movement of the giant snake. However, he didn't use his webs to counter immediately. Instead, he leaped high into the air. When it comes to speed, he is second to none. Just like now, his speed is so fast it leaves afterimages. A blur of black soared over 10 meters into the sky. At the same time, his sickle legs charged up. You suddenly raised your sickle leg and slashed down with all your might. Boom! With a thunderous roar, emerald snake scales flew everywhere, accompanied by a spray of crimson blood. But, a moment later, your pupils contracted. What is this? In a state of shock, you felt a surge of intense pain through your body. Amidst a series of sizzling sounds, your abdomen was being ripped open. It was the splattered snake blood, hitting your body, like boiling oil at high temperatures, splattering, but the sensation was several times more terrifying. It was actually corroding your flesh. The pain made you grimace in agony. I knew the monsters of this world couldn't be underestimated. With a gasp, you immediately shot out a strand of spider silk, wrapping it around a branch above, pulling your entire body upward. Damn it, the splattered snake blood is highly toxic. Who could have expected this? Luckily, I didn't devour it immediately, or I would have lost my mouth. Suppressing the shock in your heart, you steadied your mind. However, for some reason, an indescribable pleasure began to grow within you. Now this is interesting. Getting hurt, clashing, this is what it means to be the true battle a man craves. A smirk suddenly played on your lips, looking down at the giant snake waiting on the ground. Your 8 eyes flickered incessantly, with a faint, eerie glow circulating. Simultaneously, as magic surged, a ghostly light flashed across your sickle legs. Dark magic can greatly enhance the attack power of the sickle legs, and to a certain extent, ignore a portion of the defense. Just now, the scales of this giant snake withstood your slash, but what about now? With a mental chuckle, you leap down once more, like a falling meteor, your sickle legs crossed. This time, you intend to kill it in one blow, but right then, amidst an increasingly terrifying hiss, the giant snake suddenly flung its jaws open. Faintly, a ball of green light could be seen flickering in its throat. What is? Using the spider silk, you instinctively performed a 180-degree spin in midair. Narrowly, you dodged that ball of green light, but the large tree behind you wasn't so lucky. Sizzle. Amidst the continuous sound of corrosion, on the trunk of the tree, a hole nearly half a meter deep had appeared. In a moment of silence, you felt a chill run down your spine. A cold dread shot straight to your heart. Good grief. Seriously, good grief. This giant snake seems to be quite terrifying. Is it bullying me because I don't use ranged attacks? While cursing indignantly, you didn't use your spider silk. There was no need. Although this giant snake is powerful, it is still within your capacity to handle. Based on your estimation, this giant snake is at most level 7 or 8. It's just that, compared to the rabbits and other monsters, it is far more skilled at hunting and far more skilled at attacking. That's why it seems more terrifying. However, that's not a big problem. With your methods, you can handle it. Moreover, it's rare to encounter such an opponent. A perfect chance to hone your close-quarters combat skills. Thinking of this, your gaze sharpened. Next, it's your turn. With a smirk in your mind, you leaped high into the air once again. Only, this time, you didn't leap straight toward the snake. Instead, you darted back and forth between the trees. With your current agility bonus of 30, your speed was beyond imagination, especially since the snake already had poor vision. In an instant, it found it difficult to pinpoint your location. And right then, with a sudden, thunderous roar, you leaped down from behind the snake, striking first. The sickle legs in your hands were raised high as the eerie glow circulated. A terrifying killing intent enveloped the giant snake. Boom! Amidst the sudden explosion, the entire snake under your slash was sent flying backward, and at this moment, if one looked closely, they would surely see on the snake's body a massive wound had appeared. Amidst a wretched, piercing shriek, the snake struggled violently on the ground, as if a heart-piercing pain spread throughout its entire body, causing its whole frame to tremble. But at this moment, you showed no mercy. Your 6 legs tapped rapidly against the earth as your entire body shot toward the snake. Swish, slash after slash, you targeted the snake's vital spot. As the saying goes, to kill a snake, hit its heart. In this world, it should be no different. This vital spot is equivalent to the snake's heart. A strike there means certain death. That's why you launched a ruthless attack. Bam! Amidst the continuous clashes, the giant snake screams grew more piercing. The speed couldn't keep up with yours. Moreover, the snake was so massive that, in your eyes, it was nothing more than a living target. No matter how it attacked, even its occasional resistance, the lash of its tail, all missed. Therefore, what awaited this giant snake was only one inevitable path, and that was, crack, with a sharp snap, half of your scythe leg pierced right through the snake's vital spot. Done. A slight smirk played on your lips. You were satisfied with this battle. Not bad. Sharp enough. However, there were still shortcomings. Quite a few, actually. For example, some of the attacks could have been much faster. Even, on the very first strike, you could have ended the snake's life, but took dozens of moves before the fatal blow landed. It's easy to see that you're still a rookie. The victory was largely due to your attribute panel, far surpassing the snake's strength, speed. They weren't even in the same league. How could the snake ever be a match for you? Only, at that moment, as you looked at the blue light in front of you, your gaze froze. You are suffering from potent poison. Poison resistance plus 0.2. You are suffering from potent poison. Poison resistance plus 0.2. You are suffering from potent poison. Poison resistance plus 0.2. Amidst the rapid notifications, you were left completely bewildered. And not just that, further up, there was more information. You are being scorched by fire. Fire resistance plus 0.1. This must have been from before, when preying on the flame rabbit. The notification for resisting fire. You hadn't noticed it then, but now, you see it, and you're stunned. Is this my talent? Adaptability? With a sharp intake of breath, an overwhelming surge of ecstasy rushed through you. This talent, adaptability, seems terrifying. To be able to easily increase all resistances. Smacking your lips, an image flickered in your mind, of yourself with all resistances maxed out. How terrifying would that be? Bathing in lava. That doesn't seem impossible. If that day ever comes, I might actually become a god. Whispering softly, you began to look forward to it. So, this talent of yours is truly frightening, and not just ordinary frightening. They say smaller animals have stronger adaptability. I didn't expect my adaptability to be this insane, to easily adapt to any harsh environment and increase my own resistances. A grin spread across your face. You knew this talent was the guarantee of your future strength. Resistance. What is it? The ability to withstand adverse factors. Something like resistance is naturally better the more you have. The stronger, the better. If every resistance could reach its maximum value, I won't say invincible, but surviving in this world should be more than enough. Therefore, once you realized your resistances could be constantly improved through adaptability, you added resistance training into your cultivation plan. Not just fire resistance, poison resistance, cold resistance, corrosion resistance. I'll stack them all. While whispering, you noticed the bottom right corner of the blue screen. A new section had appeared, the Resistance tab. Currently, fire resistance 0.1, poison resistance 0.6. This is already quite good. Keep in mind, this is only the beginning. There's plenty of time. If you intentionally raise them, I believe it won't take long for your resistances to stack up. As for how terrifying resistance is, where is it most evident? Simply put, if your fire resistance keeps stacking, setting aside total immunity, your resistance to firepower will increase drastically. A fireball that would normally melt you, landing on your body, might only singe a layer of skin. And that is the terror of resistance. And now, gulp, swallowing hard, you carefully pulled your scythe leg out of the giant snake's carcass. This snake's corpse is a treasure, especially its blood. Although highly toxic, it isn't lethal to you, perfect for increasing poison attributes. Once you reach the point where you can bathe in snake blood, then the first stage of poison resistance will be complete. Thinking of this, you spat out a large amount of spider silk, wrapping the entire snake's corpse completely. Then, bit by bit, towards Silk Valley. Drag it away. That is where his base is. Time slowly passed. In the blink of an eye, it was already midnight, and at this moment, you successfully brought the giant snake's corpse back to Silk Valley. Not only that, in the Silk Cave, he found a massive rock. Then, inside this rock, he used his scythe legs to dig a hole the size of a millstone. Next, raising the scythe leg slightly, you aimed for the giant snake's neck, and sliced down with brutal force. Slash! A sharp sound rang out. Endless crimson blood gushed out like a spring, pouring continuously into the large hole. Sizzle! Amidst the continuous sound of corrosion, it felt as if the giant hole couldn't withstand it. However, fortunately, the rock you found was something special. It was incredibly hard, and didn't melt away immediately. Moreover, while the snake's venom was terrifying, this blood didn't contain that much venom. It could only corrode a layer of skin. It wasn't as exaggerated as imagined. Therefore, this hole could actually hold the snake's blood. At this moment, looking at the millstone-sized pool of crimson blood, you remained silent for a long while. Then, deep within his eyes, a flicker of determination appeared. If you can't be ruthless with yourself, how can you be ruthless to your enemies? With that, slowly raising the scythe leg, you bit by bit, first extended it toward the blood pool, and in the next instant, sizzle, along with the continuous sound of corrosion, a wave of intense pain surged through you. Damn! A cry echoed in your mind. But then you noticed something on the status bar. Enduring extreme poison. Poison resistance plus 0.2. Enduring extreme poison. Poison resistance plus 0.2. Enduring extreme poison. Poison resistance plus 0.2. With one notification after another, your poison resistance was slowly climbing. It actually works. A smile formed in your mind. You felt the pain from your side leg subside significantly. Of course, this was no illusion. As your poison resistance continued to rise, your ability to resist the corrosive toxic blood was also steadily increasing. Although the growth was slow, the effect was still very significant. Shortly after, you decisively lifted your scythe leg out of the blood pool. These scythe legs were the guarantee of his hunt. They couldn't be damaged. If you were careless and broke them, you'd probably lose your mind. So, moderation. Moderation is key. Once it felt like enough, that was plenty. It was just like in his past life, reading wuxia novels, where people practiced the iron sand palm. It doesn't happen overnight. To reach perfection, you have to take it slow. Anyway, time is on your side. You weren't in a hurry. Moreover, more than that, you were looking forward to the giant snake's gallbladder. This thing should be a powerful tonic, right? Thinking of this, you lunged toward the snake's corpse, and not just the gallbladder, but the venomous fangs and such could also be kept as collectibles. Every piece of prey must be used to its full potential. What can be eaten will be eaten. What can't be eaten, see if it can be used elsewhere. Too bad. He was a spider. If he were human, he wouldn't mind using the animal skins to make a set of clothes. However, for now, this is fine too. After simply processing the snake's carcass, you looked toward the deepest part of the canyon. There were a few animal skins draped over a nest. This was his spider nest, and he used the skins of his prey to make his spider nest more comfortable and warmer. Late at night, Silk Valley was as quiet as ever. Only, at this moment, if one noticed the deepest part of the canyon, they would surely find a basketball-sized black spider lying quietly in the nest, contemplating life, just like a human. Yes, contemplating. However, you weren't contemplating life, but the plan for your own cultivation, using the blood pool to increase poison resistance. Ideally once every 1 or 2 days. Any more would be too much to handle. While murmuring softly, you raised your scythe leg. Faintly, he felt an indescribable numbness in his scythe leg. This must be the aftereffect of bathing in toxic blood. Fortunately, this numbness, as time passed, was slowly improving. Otherwise, you'd be cursing up a storm. And this was the reason you were reluctant to bathe in toxic blood again. Too much is as bad as too little. Before this numbness completely vanished, you probably wouldn't bathe in toxic blood again. This isn't like his past life, where there were hospitals. If something really went wrong, or if it left permanent damage, he'd be in big trouble. So, be cautious and then even more cautious. Caution is the only way to survive. Indeed, you also vaguely understood that this talent for adaptability likely has a flaw that isn't exactly a flaw. If one is too eager to increase resistance, they might end up playing with fire. In a soft murmur, you gain some insight. It's not quite a flaw, but it's something to be wary of. However, after sketching out a simple training plan, you began to hone his god-level ability. Spider silk, spider web. With a light chuckle, in an instant, you spat out a giant web the size of a millstone, shooting it toward a nearby boulder. This is the spider web, can bind an enemy's movements. If caught in this web, even an enemy of the same level would be in serious trouble. And it's worth mentioning that the size of the web depends on the weaving speed. The larger the web, the longer it takes to weave. By your estimation, a 10-meter wide web, given his current level, would take at least half a minute. Such a duration means a 10-meter web could never be used in a flash fight, but a millstone-sized web only takes a few breaths. Therefore, in normal combat, you always shoot millstone-sized webs. As for larger webs, there's no need for them. Moreover, your spider silk is limited. In a short time, cannot be replenished. If weaving a web consumes too much, it means you won't be able to use other silk-based abilities. For example, right now, silk bullet, another soft murmur, a sharp whistling sound pierced the air, and on the distant boulder, a bullet-sized hole appeared, and this is another way to use your silk, like a bullet, firing a single strand of silk, with terrifying lethal power, enough to pierce through flesh, and even shatter bone. The web is for control. The bullet is for attack. That is the current application of your silk also. Using the silk for movement, shooting silk onto trees and rocks, to pull your body, and quickly cross obstacles. This should also be a viable method. It's just that currently, you haven't mastered it yet. Simply put, you're not proficient enough for it to be a reliable trump card. Once you get used to it, it will likely greatly increase your agility. With a smile in your heart, you looked forward to that day. But that's not all, because the god-level enhancement of the silk gives it infinite possibilities. Therefore, in terms of development, your silk is different from any ordinary spider's silk. As for why you're so sure, it's because other spiders' silk cannot move according to your will. For example, now, with a single thought, several crystalline strands of silk began to swirl around you, as if they were dancing, as if cheering, even leaping with joy. Not only that, you also had a feeling that you could control them even more precisely, tightening them like piano wires. In a sudden moment of reflection, you were suddenly startled because those crystalline strands actually began to tighten. In the ensuing silence, you tentatively controlled the strands and swept them toward the distance. SHHK. A sharp snapping sound echoed, and under your stunned gaze, a branch on a nearby tree was silently sliced in two, and then, if you looked closely, you could see at the point of the break several crystalline strands slowly vibrating. This was their masterpiece, tightened like piano wires. Without needing any anchor, they sliced through the branch. During their high-speed movement, swift and terrifying, enough to make one shiver. However, after completing this sequence, you felt a rare sense of fatigue. Yes, fatigue, not physical exhaustion, but mental. Could it be that controlling the silk so freely consumes my mental strength? In a soft murmur, you felt a flicker of doubt. Mental strength, invisible to the eye, untouchable, yet it truly exists in this world, at least in the chat channel. You murmured softly as you shifted your gaze to the spirit column. Within the 4 dimensions of attributes, his spirit is 12. An ordinary person is 10. In other words, he is slightly smarter than average, and this spirit should be closely linked to mental strength. With a smile, you decided to use 2000 evolution points to develop the brain domain. This had been his plan all along. Now, his evolution points had reached 2200. It was finally enough. So, the idea of enhancing the brain domain could finally be put into action. Thinking of this, you spoke directly. I want to spend 2000 evolution points to enhance the brain domain. As soon as the words left your lips, text appeared before your eyes. Are you sure you want to spend 2000 evolution points to enhance the brain domain? Confirm. With a nod, your heart was set, and once he confirmed it, a series of messages popped up. Brain domain enhancement takes 10 minutes. Please choose a safe location. Brain domain enhancement will cause unbearable pain. Please be prepared. Amidst the consecutive prompts, you shuddered violently, but shortly after, before you could prepare further, piercing scream suddenly echoed through the valley. Unimaginable pain, like 10,000 silver needles, constantly piercing your mind. Even you found it hard to endure, but amidst this constant piercing, you saw it. You saw your stagnant mental strength actually begin to grow. 12.2, 12.4, 13, 13.2, bit by bit, point by point, steadily increasing. At the same time, you felt the pain in your mind, becoming even more terrifying. However, you couldn't pass out. Absolutely not, because you saw another prompt. Brain domain development depends on your mental endurance. When your mind can no longer take it, further development will cease. A single sentence made you grit your teeth hard. I must hold on. I absolutely must. Having been human in a past life, you understood deeply what brain development meant. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Therefore, every moment must be cherished. Time flowed slowly, and in a blink, half the night had passed. During these few hours, felt like an eternity. Your body was drenched in sweat. Finally exhale, gasping for air. Your eyes focused on the mental strength column. There was a dazzling number, 21 points, a full 9-point increase. A smirk played on your lips. You were satisfied, although you didn't know how much others' brain domains could increase. But you had a feeling that increasing by 9 points was already quite impressive. However, unfortunately, you couldn't hold on any longer. An indescribable drowsiness drowsiness washed over you, and in the next moment, your consciousness sank into chaos, and your body collapsed in the nest, falling fast asleep. But while you were asleep, you didn't know that message after message kept popping up on your light screen. Your mental strength has reached 20 plus. Mental ability acquired. Probe. Able to view the strength of monsters with weaker mental power, and even has a chance to peek at the opponent's abilities. Your mind is under attack. Mental resistance plus 0.2. Your mind is under attack. Mental resistance plus 0.2. Your mind is under attack. Mental resistance plus 0.2. Amidst these consecutive prompts, it meant that you had opened up a brand new realm, the realm of the mind, a terrifying domain distinct from the physical body. And within this realm, you would truly obtain power that transcends the mundane. The mist rose hazily as dawn approached. When the first ray of morning light pierced through the thin fog, you slowly opened your sleepy eyes, tired, so tired, but then an indescribable feeling of refreshment. Moreover, that wasn't all. What truly shocked you was, you noticed the change in your brain domain. A strange, indescribable feeling grew within your heart, truly impossible to describe, impossible to explain, but you felt your thinking speed had significantly increased. Previously, things that took a few seconds to process now only took a single second. So this is brain domain development. While whispering softly, you noticed another point, which was that the world seemed to have slowed down. Not that the world slowed, but that your thinking speed had indeed accelerated. Then, according to the theory of relativity, the acceleration of your thoughts was equivalent to the world slowing down. If this were applied in combat, when an enemy attacks, you could think more clearly and execute more counterattacks. Thinking of this, a smile appeared on your face. As expected, it wasn't a waste, spending 2,000 evolution points to develop the brain domain. Totally worth it. The brain domain is the most mysterious and the most terrifying. Amidst the exclamation, you shifted your gaze to the notification bar. Good grief, a mountain of prompts, and you had actually gained two abilities. One is an active ability, Probe, able to view the levels of monsters, with mental strength weaker than yours and a chance to peek at some of their abilities. The other is a passive ability, a certain degree of resistance to mental attacks. Simply put, it's mental resistance. It seems that last night's agony was not in vain. At least, your mental resistance has already reached 5, the highest among all your resistances. After spending 2,000 evolution points to develop the brain domain, you only have 200 evolution points left. However, the sacrifice of those 2,000 points was absolutely worth it. After all, this is the brain domain, a realm that humans in a past life could barely touch in a lifetime. Moreover, now, as you recall carefully, you can actually remember many blurred details of your past life. Even, he is able to recite some of the forgotten ancient poems. In this way, one can imagine how terrifying this brain domain enhancement is, and this gave you a taste of success. Next, you plan to try enhancing your eyes, ears, and so on. Eye enhancement should significantly improve vision, and might even awaken a specific ocular ability. As for ear enhancement, it's all about hearing. As for the next stage of brain development, there's no rush. After all, the next brain development requires 20,000 evolution points. Each time it gets higher, so, in a short time, enhancing the brain a second time will likely be difficult. Therefore, enhancing other parts is naturally the top priority, and this is how you use your evolution points. All-around enhancement, making him powerful and flawless. Others certainly couldn't do it. After all, evolution points are limited, but you are different. He has a system. This system helps him when skill proficiency peaks break through automatically, so you can save a lot of evolution points. And this way, with the same amount of points, you can naturally enhance more body parts and extend more abilities. This is what they call one step ahead, staying ahead at every turn. As your thoughts raced, you continued to hone your various abilities, and through this constant training, his proficiency in various skills kept increasing. However, not long after, your ability, the scythe leg proficiency reached 100. You can consume 1,000 evolution points to upgrade the LV1 scythe leg to LV2. Amidst the succession of text prompts, you were stunned. The scythe leg ability, this proficiency is actually full. He hadn't noticed it, but this is a good thing. As for the second prompt, you chose to ignore it, spending 1,000 evolution points to upgrade LV1 scythe leg to LV2. Sorry, that's a bit too extravagant. With 1,000 evolution points, enhancing vision and hearing, wouldn't that be better? With a smile in your heart, you raised your scythe leg once more and slashed violently at the air. Swish! Along with the sound of air splitting, you felt a warm current surging through your scythe leg. Accompanying it was a very cold notification sound that suddenly rang in your ear. Scythe leg proficiency maxed out. Automatic breakthrough initiated. So this is the power of my system. It really can let my abilities, after hitting the ceiling, break through automatically. As you murmured softly, you noticed the attribute text on the panel had all changed. LV2 scythe leg. A blade leg like a scythe can easily change its partial form, transforming into an even more terrifying blade, or revert to the original spider leg. As your eyes narrowed, you sensed another mysterious power surging at the edge of the blade, and then, with a single thought, you tentatively activated the scythe leg ability. With a sudden boom, your scythe leg could be seen, continuously extending, becoming longer and longer. Looking at it, a cold glint surged, sending a chill down the spine. Now, your scythe leg looks more like a truly razor-sharp weapon. And this is the LV2 scythe leg. It looks quite terrifying. With a smile, you raised the scythe leg and slashed toward a nearby giant rock. Screech! With a crisp sound, a rock half a meter wide was split clean in two, revealing a smooth, mirror-like cut. Truly terrifying. With a sigh of admiration, you controlled the scythe leg to continue transforming, and shortly after, looking at the scythe leg, now indistinguishable from the other 6 legs, a slight smirk appeared on your lips. Now, his scythe leg looks as if it hasn't evolved at all, except it's slightly thicker than the other 6, and this should be the scythe leg's original form. And if you wish, these 2 spider legs can instantly turn into the sharpest scythes to slay everything. As for why you turned the scythe legs back into normal spider legs, that was naturally to hide your true strength. If others saw those scythe-like blades, they would likely be on guard. But if it's like this now, starting as just ordinary spider legs, then others won't be vigilant. And once you get close, the ordinary legs suddenly transform into razor-sharp scythes, then deliver a fatal blow. That is what you truly want to see. However, you didn't expect that, after the scythe leg ability upgraded, could actually return to its original form. This makes hiding his strength much easier. As expected of the LV2 scythe leg, can even change its form. As you murmured softly, you were quite pleasantly surprised. This, if used correctly, would be a deadly trick to trap enemies. Life as a spider is monotonous yet interesting. Monotonous because your daily life is just the same old routine. Hunting, cultivation, and even sleeping. But what's interesting is that you can feel him getting stronger day by day. Moreover, every single day, he encounters different prey. These prey bring you extraordinary pleasure, just like now. Grr. Low growls echoing one after another. Purple creature that looks like a fox, its fur standing on end, eyes staring fixedly at him. This thing, the senses are sharp. It must have sensed how terrifying he is. A smirk forms in your mind. You try to activate your perception ability. Race, Wind Fox, rank, level 9. Evaluation, comes without a shadow, leaves without a trace, extremely fast, a monster specializing in speed. While staring silently, your eyes narrow slightly. This small fox is actually a level 9 monster, only 2 levels lower than him, and it's an expert in speed. You're momentarily stunned. You feel a bit helpless. Ever since stepping into level 10, his leveling speed has slowed down significantly. It's been 3 days already, and he barely managed to level up once, reaching level 11. However, fortunately, in these 3 days, he has adapted to many abilities. His combat power has jumped several tiers. And now, looking at this small wind fox, you decide to have some fun with it. But just as you gaze at the wind fox, you don't realize the fox is on the verge of a breakdown. Why is my luck so terrible? I just evolved, and I run into such a terrifying monster. Oh my god. Exclaiming in panic, the wind fox is extremely anxious. That's right, this wind fox is actually a player. Furthermore, in her previous life, she was a sprinting star at a university, even a national-level second-class athlete. On top of that, she was stunningly beautiful, widely regarded as a goddess. But who would have thought she would end up in this hellish world? Luckily, she was good at running, and she was reborn as a speed-specialized wind fox. This allowed her to stand out among the many players. Moreover, it's worth mentioning that her innate talent is danger sense. Compared to ordinary players or monsters, her perception of danger is far more acute. This innate talent has allowed her to thrive in this forest, making a name for herself. In just 1 month, she has already reached level 9. She wanted to use this breakthrough to master her abilities, but she never imagined that a random spider she encountered would be this terrifying, especially when the spider's eyes stared at her. It almost took her breath away. The hair on her body stood on end. An indescribable chill seeped into her heart. Run. I must run. Her danger sense talent is constantly screaming this one message, that she must run. If she doesn't run now, she's afraid she'll. So, slowly backing away, the wind fox's cyan eyes stared intently at the spider. However, in the next instant, suddenly, through the air, the wind fox saw it. She saw it, a black shadow lunging violently toward her. So fast. With a cry of shock, the wind fox immediately activated her ability, Gale Step, wrapping wind around her limbs to drastically increase her speed. Thus, the moment she moved, a gale erupted, and the wind fox immediately leaped backward. But before she could get further away, a wave of chill surged through her heart. Instinctively turning around, the wind fox suddenly saw the spider. Those once ordinary spider legs had suddenly transformed into scythe-like blades. Slash! Barely dodging the attack, the wind fox noticed a large tree nearby had been sliced clean in two, revealing a mirror-smooth cut. Shuddering violently, the wind fox was completely stunned. If she had been hit, there would be no survival. In this damn forest, how could there be such a brutal monster? As expected, I hate spiders the most. Terrified to the point of tears, the wind fox's eyes began to redden. Heaven help me, she's really just an ordinary girl, maybe a bit prettier than most, and good at running. But why does she have to go through this? She really doesn't want to die, really. With an indescribable sense of grievance, the wind fox kept dodging the black spider's fierce slashes. However, at this moment, the wind fox was shocked to discover that the black spider didn't seem to want to kill her. His attacks, though terrifying, barely grazed her fur every single time. This was definitely not because of her sharp reflexes, but because the spider didn't want to kill her. Yes, I don't want to kill her. If the spider had wanted to, at the moment of the first strike, she would already be a cold corpse. A girl's sixth sense made her realize this. The next moment, the wind fox seemed to realize something, and her expression suddenly froze. This guy couldn't be a player, could she? However, the instant that thought flashed through her mind, boom! With a thunderous crash, the wind fox's entire body was sent flying backward. Unimaginable pain surged through her body, but before she could react, a white spider web half a meter wide swept down to envelop her. Fine, I overthought it. Her heart sank to the bottom. The wind fox's consciousness slowly blurred from the agony. This guy is a player, right? A sudden sigh. Looking at the white fox lying unconscious nearby, trapped within the spider web, you felt a bit helpless. Whether she's a player or not, to be honest, for you, it wasn't hard to tell. True monsters, reaction speed and strength, are far beyond what an average player can match. Most players now have only just arrived, and during combat, they are noticeably stiff. Moreover, more importantly, have you ever seen a monster, after one strike, suddenly burst into tears, with eyes turning red? Therefore, the moment the first strike landed, you already knew this wind fox was a player, and a mentally fragile one at that. Thinking of this, your gaze focused on the wind fox's neck, on something that looked like a necklace. This isn't something an ordinary monster would have. It's a marker for players. Not long ago, you saw in the group chat, players suggesting adding some decorations, like necklaces or tattoos. That way, when players encounter each other, they can recognize each other's identity. To be honest, it was a good idea. After all, as fellow Blue Star humans, if there are no conflicting interests, it's best not to be enemies. According to the theories of some high IQ players, their true enemy should be this otherworldly realm. Yes, to be at war with the world. An elite pro player on the World Channel once said this: our arrival in this world is meant for invasion. Right now, we have become the fourth calamity, and our mission, while we grow stronger, is to seize this world. Therefore, our enemies are all sentient beings of this world. His theory had many loopholes, but it must be admitted, his words won the approval of many players. Even now, this elite pro player is building his organization on the World Channel, called Star. Every player can brand a 5-pointed star pattern on their body as a sign of joining. You believe that guy isn't just building it on the World Channel, but likely on regional channels as well. Perhaps, in that pro player's region, a prototype of the organization has already emerged. Humans of this era don't lack smart people, and they certainly don't lack elites. There are many elites, just like him. And now, staring quietly at the wind fox, you felt a bit hesitant. Now, what should you do? Better take her back and see. With that thought, you dragged the wind fox toward Spider Valley, and on the way back with the wind fox, you rarely began to wonder about the future. Do I really have to be alone? You believed that even alone, you could still grow strong. The problem is, the power of numbers is hard to ignore. Just like the Star organization mentioned before, that elite pro player, who calls himself Star, is now more likely to have an organized group, hunting players with a purpose. A single player might be too much for one, but a few players, or even a dozen together, can take them down. This way, even if the Star elite isn't naturally gifted, he can still grow rapidly. If you remember correctly, 2 days ago this Star elite mentioned on the World Channel that his level had already reached level 10. You have to realize, the reason you are level 11 is largely thanks to your god-tier spider silk, allowing you to fight above your level. Moreover, you can weave webs to wait for prey. In terms of hunting alone, your efficiency is likely several times that of other players. That is how you reached level 11, and now the Star Elite is already level 10. TSK. Clicking your tongue, you felt a sense of admiration. This is the brilliance of humans, intelligent players, inhabiting the bodies of powerful monsters. It's not as simple as 1 + 1. Although most players haven't adapted to the monster's power, their strength, as time passes, will continuously reveal itself. You believe that, in the future, these grown players will possess power far exceeding true monsters. For example, yourself. A smile crossed your mind. You're a bit too proud to be alone like him and make it this far. Among all the players, he should be considered one of the best. But at this moment, you didn't realize that he still underestimated himself. Among all the players, he is far more than just one of the best. Aside from those monsters who started at the top, he is undoubtedly among the most powerful. You have to realize, most players are still just fighting to survive. Forget hunting or leveling up. Just staying alive is a victory. Take this wind fox, for example. Don't let her level 9 fool you. Her hunting skills and combat abilities are truly pathetic. The reason she leveled up so quickly is largely because she got lucky. She stumbled upon the corpse of a high-level monster, which is how she reached level 9. As for before that, how pitiful she was, is too much to even mention. Every day she was either on the run, or preparing to run. If she hadn't reincarnated as a wind fox, a creature renowned for its speed, and if she didn't have danger perception, she would have been monster food long ago. And this is the reality for most players. Now, the players are splitting into two extreme poles. Those who adapt to this world grow stronger with every fight, evolving at a terrifying pace every single day. But those who can't adapt either become prey or spend their lives fleeing in terror, fighting for a scrap of survival. Their misery is beyond anyone's imagination, just like what you see on the World Channel. One player hasn't eaten meat in 4 or 5 days, eating leaves every day, and grassroots, living in constant dread, terrified of encountering monsters. If his will hadn't been so strong, he probably would have ended it all long